All right, YouTube, the final tallies for the electors are in, and there were actually 7 faithless electors. What I figured was like between the 4 that were known, the Suprun, as well as a couple of Washington state electors and one, I believe, from Maine, which ended up actually voting for Clinton in the end because of state rules. Something between that and like 10. So this was pretty standard. But what was surprising to some people is that more people abandoned Hillary Clinton than Donald Trump. Only 2 people refused to vote for Trump. 5 refused to vote for Hillary Clinton. One individual from Washington State, which of course went for Clinton, voted for Faith Spotted Eagle. 3 voted for Colin Powell. And then a Hawaii elector actually refused to vote for her and voted for Bernie Sanders. So, and then one Texas elector, I believe Suprun, voted for Kasich in the end, and another voted for Ron Paul. So Hillary Clinton actually lost quite a few more electors than Donald Trump did. I believe that the harassment of electors by the social justice warriors may have backfired just a little bit. This is sort of the final nail in the coffin of their argument against Donald Trump. When you piss off the electors to the point at which originally the only person who wasn't going to vote for Clinton was like one dude from Washington State. He's like, no, I won't support her. The state will go blue. And it ends up being 5. And meanwhile, Suprun fails to get anybody else on board other than one other person who votes for Ron Paul, which I'm comfortable with the idea of Ron Paul getting an electoral point. That's fine by me. I like Ron Paul. You can see that there's a little bit of a disparity here, I think. I fear that the Clintonian schemes may have backfired. And groups like Salon and all the others, it's like the MTV video. A lot of people on the left, because they think their views are sacrosanct, they've lived in an echo chamber for so long that they think that the rest of the country largely thinks like them and doesn't see the problem with saying white dudes are bad, white dudes are evil, straight dudes or white women or whatever, or dudes in general, there's something wrong with them. They think that it's perfectly acceptable. Now they've taken their video and put it to private, by the way. It's actually, it's like, oh, well, you should have thought before you uploaded it in the fucking first place, you morons. But they didn't think of that. They were thinking of using it as cheap clickbait, I guess. The tide has turned against the fruity, goofy people of the world. Thank goodness. As for Clinton, she's actually loses a few electors because some of her fans, as well as some of the progressives, are like, no, we can't let Trump win. We need faithless electors. We need Hamilton electors. And it was pushed by elements of the social justice warrior friendly media, like Salon or Being Liberal's farce book page or something like that. They pushed this. They're the ones that were proclaiming, oh, the electors have a chance to stand against tyranny. Look what ends up happening. What they didn't appear to understand is that when they posted all that real fear-mongering about Trump, their fans naturally got whipped up into a frenzy if they believed it. If they're like, they're basically tinfoil hatters on the left. They're crazy. They take it seriously. They think Trump's actually going to come and, rip the entire world apart. There'll be like an atomic war or something. So they say, oh shit, well, we got to do something. So in a self-righteous rage, because they live in an echo chamber, they start emailing and sending letters in to their electors saying, don't you fucking vote for Trump. We're gonna have to do something about you traitor, if you support him. Well, that's not the way to go about things. It's about the least intelligent thing you could do. What you end up having is that some of the Clinton electors say, her fans are fucking berserk. They're fucking lunatics. We can't, in good faith, we've got to abandon Hillary Clinton. Regardless, we've got to stop her from potentially winning. Because look at her fans. Look at how violent and angry and filled with hate they are. It kind of amuses people sometimes when they see this in full force. But Trump, people talked about him. Well, again, legacy media doesn't really matter, even parts of the underground media, honestly. Oh, Trump is a hate-filled man. His fans are filled with hate. They want to kill all minorities. They want to kill gay people. They want to have a Holocaust. They want to start a nuclear war. They're ignorant and fat, and they probably have half their teeth missing, too. Essentially, this sort of combination of various stereotypes used by the social justice warriors about anyone they happen to disagree with. It's really unintelligent. It doesn't really take a lot of mental faculties to dream up such crude stereotypes, but this is what they do. And they've gotten away with it because for a while it was generally considered acceptable to do so. But what they've done is alienated most of the centrists. They've alienated former allies of theirs who happen to be white and or male, or just straight in general, or they happen to support the Second Amendment or something, so they've alienated more than half of the population easily. They supported a candidate who couldn't wage a proper campaign, and then when their candidate lost, these idiots went apeshit and started harassing and threatening the electors who would actually select the next president of the United States. As a result, more people abandoned Hillary Clinton than abandoned Donald Trump. Well, there you go. One last humiliating loss for the Democratic Party is seeing several of their electors vote for Colin Powell and another vote for Faith Spotted Eagle. I would like to congratulate Colin Powell for managing to come in third in the electoral tally, even though he wasn't actually running, and even though probably less than 1,000 people cast their ballot for him. That's a pretty good ratio. Yeah, considering the fact that he spent nothing on his apparent election bid, he got 3 electors. Yeah, it's pretty good. Isn't that the amount of electors that comes from several of the states? I think Vermont has 3 electors. Well, you just won an equivalent of like what Bernie Sanders would have won if he had actually been the Democratic candidate. He probably would have lost everywhere outside of Vermont. So, there you go. I told you that Donald Trump would win in the Electoral College. There were still people, Trump fans, who were pessimistic. They thought it wouldn't happen. Oh, Hillary Clinton at the last moment, or Jeb out of nowhere or something. Or Kasich out of nowhere. Everyone will abandon Trump magically. The unprecedented will happen for no reason. The thing is, because the echo chamber of the left bleeds out into more polite, intelligent discourse and taints it, a lot of people who aren't themselves social justice warriors assume that social justice warriors are more prevalent than they actually are. This is a problem for everybody. What we need to realize is that the sort of pink-haired, stuffy-ass moral absolutists of the social justice warrior movements are few and far between. There aren't actually that many of them. But because they're so vocal, they browbeat colleges and political movements into obeying them, into obeying their lunacy. They've managed to thus convince a lot of people that they will be punished for going against the social justice warrior mentality, that the social justice warriors are all prevailing and will destroy people's careers if they step out of line. We need to rescind our belief in such stupidity, realize that this is a small, vocal, dying minority that has alienated most of the population, including most of the minority population. We need to see them for what they are, a bunch of weak whiners, and we need to begin ignoring them completely. I don't think we need to censor them, because then it actually makes it cool and they potentially grow, but we certainly need to start ignoring them. Just don't give them the time of day. They've been wrong every step through this election. Everyone associated with them, allied with them, has been wrong. Michael Moore has been wrong. All of them have been wrong. All of their heroes and their fans that they fawn over and beat off to were wrong during the election. In fact, even a lot of people on the right wing were wrong too. It's there goes their acumen. So yeah, the Electoral College predictably chose Trump. There you go. That's the end of it. Now, can people please stop talking about this issue and wait until he's inaugurated before you get too anxious about somebody he appoints, or too optimistic about somebody he appoints. I like the fact that he put Mad Dog Mattis in there, but I'm not going to pretend that that magically means that every foreign policy goal he puts in place or has in mind is going to work perfectly. We can't assume that. We have to wait until he's in office before we can really fairly criticize or applaud him. Right now, all we can do is say, this is a more good cabinet choice than the other. This is a less good cabinet choice than the other. That's all we can do. He hasn't actually taken office yet. People tried to blame him for violence or protests or bombing. It was fun. The Salon says, Oh, think about where your bombs are dropping, Trump. He's not in office. He's not yet in a position to drop bombs on anybody. It's Obama who's in office. Your Lord and Savior Obama, because he has a D after his name and supposedly was deserving of a Nobel Peace Prize. He's the one bombing civilians right now, not Donald Trump. Trump's not in office yet. He's the president-elect. He hasn't been sworn in yet. He hasn't been inaugurated. And as the one last parting shot, they started rambling about how no DC high school wants to supply the marching band for his inauguration. Well, no shit. A city-state that voted, what was it, 92% Democrat? And is primarily composed of minorities who have been told for a year now by most elements of the mainstream media that Trump wants to kill or deport them all. They don't want to play at his inauguration. He'll have to look elsewhere. Color me surprised. I never could have guessed that would possibly happen. Once people realize that he's not that far out of the norm and maybe more intelligent than most of the presidents we've had recently, once he actually takes office, in which case his behavior, by the way, will be at least slightly altered, people will begin to realize he's not some sort of evil satanic hell devil like the left has said, that he's Donald Trump. It is kind of funny to think of it. Now, a few years ago, would you have thought, oh, Donald Trump, I think he'll be president one day? We probably should have seen it coming. That's something even, I certainly couldn't have predicted that myself. I originally, for the first month or so after he said he was going to run, I assumed that it was his idea of a joke. I said, well, he's trolling people. He's trying to get on TV a couple times. When he filed the paperwork, when he actually began making a concerted effort to run a campaign, it was obviously a little bit different. And then when he won his first state, when he won New Hampshire, it was obvious he was a real candidate then. A lot of people didn't take him seriously until Super Tuesday, until thereafter. Some people continued not to take him seriously until half the states had already voted in the Republican primaries. That's called denial. People can be given a pass on thinking it was going to be a joke campaign until he began winning a few states. At that point, it became a serious campaign. A lot of people like Nate Silver still held on well after Super Tuesday. Oh, he's got no chance. He's got like a 1% chance. These people were in denial. That's why Nate Silver on election night, when it was clear Trump had won, he came out there on screen to talk, and he looked like puffy-faced. He looked, I don't know what the fuck was wrong with him. Looked like he took way too many amphetamines or maybe too much ketamine or something like that. He was just strung out of his gourd. He was fucked up. He's still fucked up. His ability to predict things has gone down the tube real fast. But the electors have chosen Trump, so let's be quiet about this for a while. Let him actually take office before we start haranguing him about what he should or should not do. Until then, it's kind of unfair to criticize anything he says. It's a little weird. It's also perhaps unfair to give him credit for anything. I mean, if he goes and he talks to a company and saves some jobs, or he talks to some foreign official, gets foreign companies on board with investing in the U.S., okay, that's something you can congratulate him for. But congratulating him on almost anything else is meaningless. He's not in office yet. That's about all. Peace out.